Now, once upon a time, in fact back in the 1950s, there was a famous film called A Streetcar Named Desire. Well, now Honda have brought out this, a street rod as they call it, called the VTX1800. Hasn't quite got the same ring to it, but is it any good? Well, let's go and find out. Well, for a start, this is a big bike. In fact, VTX stands for V-Twin Extreme. But not only is the engine enormous, the whole thing is of super tanker proportions. It's longer than anything else I've ever ridden, but with its low seat height, I have to say it's not difficult to handle. Weight-wise, it's heavy, but not exceptional. In fact, it's the same weight as a Harley Fat Boy at 320 kilos, and it's 40 kilos lighter than its dressed up 1800 Uncle Goldwing. But enough of this, what about that engine? Now, mechanically minded or not, you cannot ignore that engine. I mean, just look at it, it's absolutely enormous. And see all these fins here? Look like air cooling. Well, it is in a way, but really it's liquid cooled because there's the radiator down the front. But they want to give this rugged look to it, and so it's got some fins there, but it's just add that little bit extra to it. And see how tall this engine is. This is a long stroke engine. It's got massive pistons, 101 millimeters. That's sort of 4 inches diameter. 2 of those in there, 52 degree V-twin. But it's the long stroke that gives you this capacity of 1800 cc. And in there, what you can get with such a big engine is a lot of vibration. So in between the crankshaft and the clutch, they've actually put a balancer shaft with a couple of bob weights going round. And the crank itself is narrow. This is to say what they call a rocking couple. When you get 2 crank pins, or 2 crank pins and 2 conrods side by side like this, you can actually get the crank rocking. And so you don't want to have that, so they've got 2 offset crank pins and keeps the flywheels nice and narrow. As I've said, it's big, but considering it's got cylinders that you could keep chickens in, it's amazingly smooth. You can feel things happening all right, but it's more like a distant earthquake than it is vibration, and that's down to that good primary balance. The pickup too has some surprises in store. Thanks to EFI and that free-breathing cylinder head, it's not what you'd expect. Open the throttle and it really does leap forward. It's not the frenetic, wheelie-popping Panther-type stuff of lesser engines, but more a bear-like great lunge forward. Now, this is a cruiser, I don't really need to tell you, but just look at it. This seating position is classic cruiser stuff. 693 the seat height, which is pretty low. A Fat Boy, just for comparison, that's 673, so it's just 20 millimetre in it, nothing to speak of. You've got the front-mounted footrests here, forward-mounted, no footboards on this. There's the old brake lever there. Like all cruisers, you tend to touch it down on corners when you're not used to it. You're okay, I suppose, when you've had it for a while, but when you first get on it, first roundabout, you're going to go, and in fact, I've lost one of the little hero blobs off the end. Whether it's a hero blob or a sort of a cool customer blob when it's on a cruiser, I don't know, but one of them's actually come off. But anyway, coming over this side here to the bars, you've got these big swept-back bars, as you can see, and a single speedo, not on the headlamp. It's just mounted on top of the fork yokes, or in fact on the risers for the handlebars. There it is, sitting alone, no rev counter, just a trip recorder there. And this petrol tank, looking down on it, is absolutely enormous. In fact, it's only 17 litres, so it's not quite, it looks as though it's something off the Torrey Canyon, is it catch, I mean, 170 litres, but it doesn't, it's 17 litres because there's a big air box under there. But nevertheless, it's pretty impressive. One of the things you notice, because this is a stylised bike, see those fork risers I told you about? Just look at the massive yoke at the top and then these enormous risers, and it looks as though the whole thing's been cut from the solid. Looks really impressive. Big beefy forks and that massive headlamp. But if you just come around here, it's got fully cast wheels, and these look as though they've been actually milled from the solid. They haven't, because they're cast with these holes in, but they're about 15 mil thick. That's really hefty. I hate to think how heavy those are, even though they're alloy. Twin discs, 296 mil diameter, and look at this, upside down forks on a cruiser. First time Honda have used them. Here you've got Nissen Calipers here, 3 pots, and it's got a link braking system, but slightly different. The front brake operates the 2 outer pistons on both sides. That centre one is operated from the rear brake. So it's link brakes, but only from the rear brake pedal. The front one has nothing to do with the back brakes. The other thing that you can notice on this, if you can see the angle, you've probably noticed in our riding shots, the forks are really kicked out. So again, that's that cruiser thing, but it doesn't seem to adversely affect the handling. But then again, I haven't really been pushing it. When it comes to handling and braking, it's as sound as a pound. It turns easier than you might think, and even though you don't throw it about, you're not supposed to. Honda make other bikes for doing that. Because one thing you can do easily on a big V-twin is just trickle along like this in first gear. Absolute piece of cake. And as I disappear behind this tree, the weight actually disappears as well. So it really is an easy bike to ride. Now, at the beginning of this piece, I asked, does it work as a concept, as a real bike? The answer is yes, it does. It's a cruiser, you've got to accept that, but it is this new style of long, low cruiser, and I think that engine is absolutely superb. That is really what's going to sell it. But at the end of the day, the whole cruiser scene, it's growing. Over the past 2 years, cruiser sales are up 22%, and in the States, would you believe they sold 3,700 of these in just 4 months? So it's certainly worked over there, and I reckon it's going to work over here. The VTX comes in black or red, and it's going to cost you £11,345 on the road. It's available now in the shops, but to follow next March is going to be a whole range of aftermarket accessories, so you'll be able to get your panniers, your screens, and all the rest of it.